Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another new and very interesting load that we've never tested before, and I'm excited to see what it can do because this is a very interesting combination of shell, that's for sure. But if it performs good, it could be really impressive, and we know this company makes some great shells, so I have some pretty high expectations for it coming into it. So as for that shell I brought it here today, I got some of these. The sticker's kind of in the way here, but these are some Salt Creek shells. They are a cold turkey blend, which is a 12 gauge 3-inch 1 5/8 ounce payload of number 9 TSS over number 5 lead. So a very interesting kind of combination or stack load with lead and TSS 9s over 5s. And a big thank you to Keith for sending some of these over. As of right now, I don't believe these are any kind of official loading that you can just click buy it now on their website, but he said these are kind of something he's playing around with. And they do have a full custom shell little form you can fill out too if you want some of these shells anyway. Either way, we know Salt Creek makes some good shells, and this is a very interesting combination, so we'll see what they can do. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out my Remington 1187. It has a 28-inch barrel on it, and for the choke, we've got an old Trulock 665 turkey choke. I believe this one is from the early 2000s-ish. It's just your plain old, non-ported, it doesn't have any straight rifling in it or anything like that kind of turkey choke. But Trulock makes some great stuff, and we've seen some fantastic results with this choke, being that it is just a bare bones 665 with no frills. It seems to work very nicely, so I figured it should be a good starting point to work from with these shells, and we'll see what happens from there, because we can always go up or down a little in constriction either way based on what we see. So we'll see what they can do through the old Trulock. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. We've got the turkey paper at 40 yards, and we've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the shell. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see what these Salt Creek TSS lead blend shells can actually do, because they are a very interesting thought process. So let's take our shot and see what kind of pattern we get. Alright, so that round gave us 1087 through the chrono. The boss claim does say 1200, so that's what, 113 feet per second under the claim. So we did fall a little short, but these are still kind of a experimental testing type of shell. And just shy of 1100 feet per second is still plenty enough velocity for the load out to 40 yards. And we're definitely not pushing them too fast either. So not too bad for a velocity up here, but what kind of a pattern did they give us down at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard turkey paper, and this is what we got. And we do have a dead bird here. There are a couple of the TSS 9 pellets through the top of the brain, and several more of both pellets down through the neck area. So we do have a dead bird, although we were off to the left just a little bit there with our core, which is probably due to the little bit of on and off breeze we have out here today, blowing from right to left. Either way, we see a pretty interesting pattern. Now, if we centered that up just a little bit better, we would absolutely have a crushed turkey out at 40 yards. Without a doubt. You have a bunch of both the 5s and the TSS 9s all throughout your main portion of the pattern here. It is a pretty uniform spread or mixture of them throughout the pattern, so that's good. But we definitely saw our fair share of little flyers and stuff around the edges as well. So it is definitely not the perfect pattern. And with a 1 5/8 ounce payload in a 12 gauge shell, that's essentially a 20 gauge loading. So we don't have a tremendous amount of pellets to work with as compared to some of the 2 or more ounce payloads that are in a lot of turkey shells today. So it is a little bit lighter on the payload. It is a little lighter in the recoil department as well. So that is a bonus. But this pattern, although it's more than good enough to get the job done to 40 yards, I think we could do with a little more constriction, or maybe just a little different choke than that old Trulock 665, because I think we have a pretty decent start to a main core area there. It's just a little bit more broad than what I would expect these shells to be, and I think we can definitely tune that in a little bit. So even though this might not be the best ever Salt Creek turkey shell pattern we've got a decent starting point to work off of. And I mean, if you center that up, you would be taking turkeys all day long at 40 yards with it either way. But I want to see what happens if we tighten the constriction up a little bit. Now, Keith did tell me when I asked about it, when he was sending me these shells, he said they performed well through a Pattern Master Code Black Turkey 665, and I do have one of those on the way. So maybe we try it through that choke and a few tighter ones or something and see what they do, because I definitely think we can get these a little better than this. TSS still. Either way, this could have gone either direction with a blend of TSS and lead like this with the small and larger pellets. We've seen some strange results with those type of shells before, so we definitely have a decent starting point to work off of. If we can tune these in a little bit and get that pattern just a little bit more even and tighter overall, that's going to be a very pleasant turkey load because it didn't have a whole massive amount of recoil for a 12 gauge shell because of that lighter payload and a little bit lower velocity. So at least now we know what we're looking at and we can move chokes from here. So not off to a terrible start for today because that pattern is still more than good enough if you wanted to use it. And here's the wad from that shell, and I believe it's the same one they use in quite a few of their other loadings from what I can remember anyway, but it looks good. Definitely nothing stuck down in there, no rips, tears, anything like that. And it really is just minor scuffing on the sides. So we're definitely not over constricting these shells at all. So we should be able to go down a constriction and potentially get a little bit better or at least a little bit tighter of a main core area or main spread of the pattern. But the wad looks good. We know these perform good. So now it's just down to finding the right choke for this particular loading. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that pattern right there? It's a solid starting point. It's absolutely usable just the way it is right there. That's plenty good enough for a 40-yard turkey pattern. But it is a little bit more on that broad side compared to what we've seen from a lot of the cold turkey shells from Salt Creek. Now, I believe these are still a little bit of a testing shell to see what Salt Creek can actually get out of them. And I definitely think we can tune these in a little bit with the right choke as well. That looks to me like they might prefer a little bit tighter constriction, but we'll see what happens. I've got a handful more of them to test, so we can definitely find out what they like versus what they might not like quite as much. Either way, a TSS 9 over a lead 5 is definitely a very interesting shell, and with a 1 5/8 ounce payload, you have pretty much 20 gauge recoil. It's not bad at all. So if we find the right combo for these shells, it'd be a very nice turkey load to hunt with, without a doubt. But I guess leave your thoughts down in the comments. Is it about what you expected to see out of them? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you ever tested a shell that's loaded like this? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from it? Or what chokes have you seen that it has tended to like? And what other chokes or setup combos do you want to see us run these shells through that you might think they perform well through? Let me know all that down below, as well as, is that a good enough pattern for you to hunt with it? Or would you want to see it tightened up just that little bit more? Either way, at the end of the day, it's a Salt Creek shell. That's not a bad performance, but I do think we can get better out of them as well. And that just comes down to testing different combinations to see what happens, which we definitely will be doing. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.